right. Welcome to our Coach PD. This is on Novice lessons 3, 4, and 5 for the 2023-24 debate season. We're trying this PD out, first time ever going over lessons that we share in our coach emails. The purpose of this is so that people can get a better understanding of how the lesson is supposed to work and ask any questions they might have about how to deliver the lesson. So I'm just going to go through each lesson and what is generally asked. I'm not going to read everything from every slide. I'm going to go over the main ideas and then slow down where I think the big important points are. And if there are questions about anything, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or put them in the chat, and I'll keep my eye on the chat as well. So we're going to jump right in. And let me just make sure I can do this properly. I'm going to share my screen in just a second here. Great. Okay. All right. If you can just give me a thumbs up, make sure you can see my screen. Awesome. So where I am starting is the lessons. The bostondebate.org page. If we go into My BDL and Coaching Resources, that brings us to this page here. And if I scroll down a little bit, right in this first row of links is our debate lesson folder. And we can access, if we click on that link, you can see all of our lessons that we have so far for the 2023-24 season. You can also go back a folder and see all of our old lesson plans from previous years if you're interested in those. And you'll notice that this folder, as it's currently populated, is not full. Previous year's lessons are full. What we're doing as we update the lessons with this year's content, we're putting them in the folder. So that way you don't have any old material in this year's lesson folder. So everything that you'll see in here is up to date with this year's topic. The Coach PDs link is great. It links to the presentations that we're sharing in various Coach PDs, like the one we're recording today. The camp materials goes to our summer debate camp materials that our debate coaches used with students over the summer. So there are tons of good activities in here, especially the morning labs have some really great activities on things like intro to debate. If we go into like week 2, for example, there's some really cool stuff on evidence ranks, full class debates that cover all sorts of different income inequality related topics. So really a ton of great camp lessons in there as well. If you are interested in other things that are not as directly related to the packet, that's a great place to look. So going back to our lessons for this year, we have the Novice Unit Intro to Debate, and what we are talking about today is practices 3, 4, and 5. Practice 3 is going to be an intro to homelessness, federal jobs guarantee, and affordable housing. Practice 4 is about the role of the affirmative and lets you start to understand the affirmative side of the debate arguments. And practice 5 is about the role of the negative. Just like last year, we'll have more lessons later on that talk about different types of arguments, get deeper into the topic. We'll have an example debate posted for students as we get a little closer to the tournament. All those great things that you used in prior years will be here eventually. But for now, we have lessons 3, 4, and 5. So starting with lesson 3, this one is entirely separate from the packet. The students don't need to have looked at the packet at all to dig into this lesson. And we're going to do the English version for the purposes of this PD, but the lessons as we go will be available in Spanish as well. And lessons 3, 4, and 5 are already all available in Spanish. You'll see in English practice 3, there's just a PowerPoint, no handouts for this lesson. And we'll load it up here. We've got an icebreaker, one of my favorites, the cold wind blows. That's a great one to use to get students up and moving and excited about debate. The directions are right there, very easy. You get students running around a circle, it's a lot of fun. And gets them talking to each other about things that they like to do. Overall, the lessons set to spend about 30 minutes each on homelessness, federal jobs guarantee and affordable housing, and mini debates. So you'll notice this is actually a 2-hour lesson plan. So you might want to split it over multiple practices if you don't have 2-hour practices, which is totally fine. There's a spot for you to insert your own updates and announcements. So if you want to use your own version of this lesson, just please copy it and put your own information in there. And we're going to dive right into the intro to the topic, homelessness. This is at least 30 minutes to start, and it could honestly be probably a full practice or more, but we'll talk about it here. So again, this is one of the parts that I'm going to slow down on and focus on how do we teach this topic. So I actually got this from a coach request last week, how to introduce this topic, how to talk with students effectively about homelessness, how to be respectful and understanding of the situation that some students might find themselves in, or they may know someone, they may have family who are experiencing homelessness. So we want to both acknowledge that this is an important, very personal issue for some people. And it's one that we want every single student to treat with respect. So whether or not it is a situation they find themselves in, we want them to understand that it is a situation that some people find themselves in. It is a problem that is a social justice issue that we all have a responsibility as a society to work on solving. And that's one of the reasons why we think it's an important debate topic, because we have two great potential solutions which could help reduce homelessness. And that's really the focus of this year's first case, is how do we improve society by reducing homelessness. Again, a few key points here. Only talk about ideas. Do not make personal attacks or accusations, right? We are not talking about homeless individuals at any point in any of these cases. There is no reason to talk about any individual person or, why or why not they have a home or do not have a home. This, again, we are recognizing that there are deficiencies in our society which lead to homelessness, and not necessarily an individual issue in any given circumstance. So it's important for your students to also talk about this as an idea, not as an individual issue, and not make personal attacks. It's important that they not make assumptions about homelessness, and we're going to talk about a few of those assumptions, and we're just going to try and stick to the facts. We think our evidence does a good job of representing the topic. Also, we think our background information gives a really great links to talk about where you can find more information and really connect directly with the issue. And finally, our goal as a whole is to debate the best ways to reduce homelessness and learn, right? Winning debates happens by finding a solution that best reduces homelessness, not by explaining or minimizing homelessness as an issue, right? We are not trying to win a debate by saying that homelessness is not a problem. We're trying to say, we have two potential solutions and we want to find the right way to solve this problem. So moving on, just for sake of time here, there is a student video. There's one in English. The Spanish translation has a different video, but has very similar content. And this focuses on the experience of students who are homeless. It gives a little bit of, it shares a little bit of information. It also helps kind of broaden what your students, if they have stereotypes coming in or biases coming in, it might broaden their understanding of what homelessness looks like. Because some students, especially students who have not experienced homelessness, may have preconceived notions about this topic, which are, again, just based on what they see on TV, what they see on TikTok, what they see in their everyday lives, and it really doesn't tell anywhere near the whole story. So we're hoping that this video can help dig in and show them another perspective on homelessness as well. We also want students to discuss what they've seen and kind of come to a common understanding of how, as a team, they feel like they want to talk about homelessness. So that's a good way for you to bring your students together and make sure they all have a similar message as a debate team. We have another activity to do with students, 5 common myths about homelessness. So this, again, links to councilforthehomeless.org, which is a nonprofit that fights homelessness and works to reduce homelessness in communities. It has some great information about common myths that people believe and the actual facts that are correcting those myths, as well as research that proves that the facts that they're sharing are true and not the myths. So this is a good thing to help debaters start to think about any biases they may personally have about homelessness, things they might have heard before, and really try and confront those things head on so that they're talking from an informed position, not from assumptions. And finally, we ask the debaters, again, to the degree that they're comfortable doing so, share out. This is an important part, I think, to talk about as well. It is possible, again, that your students, some of them may be experiencing homelessness or may have at some point in their life. They may be in between homes. And again, homelessness can look like many things, right? It doesn't just mean sleeping on the street. It may mean that currently their family cannot afford to pay rent, so they're staying with another family. It may mean that they are in a long-term shelter or some other sort of housing. All those sorts of things, when we talk about homelessness, are included in this and are worth considering. And it's worth talking with your students to make it clear that this is a primary reason why we're trying to be respectful around this issue, because you never know a person's situation. It may be the person sitting right next to your debaters who this is a central issue for them in their lives. And finally, we added some additional resources related to homelessness, especially we wouldn't be doing this a good service if we didn't also include some possible links to support students, including links from the boston.gov that can help students understand what resources are available to them and their families, or other families who may be experiencing homelessness. And one other plug I'll add here is, again, if you as a coach realize that this is something that your students are experiencing, or any individual student, please rely first on your school resources. Bring up an issue to a school counselor or someone else, because we want to make sure that our students are comfortable and supported, and feeling like they can participate in debate is a bonus, right? But making sure their needs are met as a human being comes first. And so please use what resources are available to help the students if this issue does come up in debate for one of your students. Before I go on I'm going to change gears away from homelessness and talk about the affirmative and negative sides of the debate. Are there any questions about this homelessness piece that I just shared? All right, great. So not hearing any, I'm going to move on. The rest of this lesson talks about an introduction, again, without getting into the packet, to the first novice case. It gives an intro to the affirmative plan. It gives an intro to the negative counter plan. And so federal jobs guarantee, we have, again, I'm going to go through this part a little bit more quickly so I can jump to lessons 4 and 5. What is a federal jobs guarantee? So we have a video talking exactly about what a federal jobs guarantee would be. Let's pull that up real quick. And this is, again, this is a person who's done a lot of speaking about this topic, sharing and explaining what the benefits would be of a federal jobs guarantee. And this is, again, purely an intro. This is just to help students understand the concept, not to dig into the evidence just yet. Similarly, with affordable housing, we have a slightly different approach. We don't start with a video. We want them to brainstorm some ideas around affordable housing. Similarly to homelessness, we want to recognize that some people who your students are related to, or even the students themselves, could be folks who have struggled with maintaining a job and had inconsistent work. Also, people who have struggled with gaining affordable housing. There are long wait lists for vouchers. There are a lot of reasons why obtaining a job or affordable housing is difficult. So again, treating those two issues at the same level of respect as homelessness is important when talking about these things. And our ultimate goal is to make students more informed about these issues. So, there are some video explanations about affordable housing, in particular, helping students understand the different types of affordable housing that exist. And we have some definitions in here about different types of affordable housing and how housing can become affordable, because affordable housing means a lot of different things, not just one. And finally, we have a Kahoot just for fun, to get them talking about these ideas and have a game for them to, see some of the key concepts. So that's always a fun way to wrap the activity. If you have time, or if you want to extend this into another practice, doing a very short mini debate on a federal jobs guarantee versus affordable housing before they get into the packet is really a fun activity, because this allows them to come up with ideas on their own from just the videos they've seen and their own background knowledge. I love doing mini debates on the topic before they read the packet, because that helps the students develop the arguments that they might be most passionate about. And then you can point out to them, oh, hey, they actually, have some evidence for the argument you're making in the packet. Let's go take a look. And this just gives instructions on how to run that kind of mini debate, 30 seconds intro speech for each debater, 30-second response, sharing out major arguments as a team. The instructions are all here. And then finally, we have a closing and preview of next practice, which, again, we encourage you to fill this in if you're making your own copy of these slides for practice. I'm going to stop my share at this point. Any questions related to the intro to homelessness, federal jobs guarantee, or affordable housing novice lesson number 3? All right, I'm not hearing any. I will return to the coach lesson screen again so that I can show you this multiple times so it really sinks in. I will share my screen. I'm back here on the Boston Debate League Coach Resources page. I'm scrolling down to debate lessons. I'm going to novice, intro to debate. I'm going to role of the affirmative now. I have English, and I will mention that this has a PowerPoint and 2 handouts, as it does in Spanish as well. The handouts are good to print. You should do 1 per debater, as they will be needed for the activities if you choose to do those activities with your students. The main purpose of this role of affirmative lesson is exactly what it sounds like, teaching debaters when they're on the affirmative team what they need to do to win the debate. So we have a warm-up activity, just some fun debate choices. We have outcomes and agenda. We have announcements, and then we dig into some short explanation of the role of the affirmative. This is, again, we try and simplify the language here so even new students, even new middle school students can understand this. We want students on the affirmative side to describe a current problem in the world today, propose a plan to fix it, and explain how that plan will solve the problem. That's an affirmative argument, right? We present a case that says, here's a problem, we have a plan, here's how our plan solved it. And that's how they win the debate. If the judge thinks their plan will solve that problem, make the world a better place. We briefly mentioned the resolution here. And then we talk a little bit about some debate jargon here. If you are working with brand new debaters, they won't see this debate jargon in their middle school novice packet. It is present in middle school JV and high school novice. But again, the jargon is just to help them start to develop the common language around these terms and arguments. It's not necessary for them to be successful with the debates, but it's a good habit for them to start to learn, because it is, as they're going to dig more into debate at a deeper level, they're going to hear this more and more, and it's good to know exactly what these terms refer to. In this particular example, we talk about a problem that exists in the world today, which is college is too expensive. We present that as a plan. We present a plan that the government should provide a pathway for students to obtain a college degree free of cost from a public institution. and more people will graduate debt-free and have more skills, which will allow them to live with economic security. Sounds like a great plan to me. This is not our topic for the year, but this is, again, helping students understand the structure of an affirmative. We are highlighting a problem that exists, presenting a plan to solve it, and explaining why that plan will solve the problem. All right, we talk about the parts of the debate here, the affirmative argument, rather. We have this cool little diagram. The plan needs the inherency, harms, and solvency to succeed, right? If any of the legs of the stool are broken, then the plan falls apart, right? You need all three parts, all three legs of the stool to make it stand up. And then we do a guided practice, so you can work together with debaters on this. We have an example 1AC. So we have inherency, harms, plan, and solvency. Each of these four things matches up with one of these types of arguments here. And you can drag and drop these things with your debaters to figure out where they might go. And, you know, just again, this is another example of the structure of an affirmative. It is not the particular case that you're using this here. Again, and then we have a little more info on how they can win debates this year with the affirmative. Finally, we break into a class challenge where students can write their own affirmatives. And that's the closing and the debrief. The two handouts that go along with this, I'm going to open those up very quickly. The class challenge handout that we did towards the end has directions. It has information for students to write down. It also has a rubric for them to vote on other teams, so they can decide who came up with the best story of the affirmative. So this is the rubric that goes along with one activity. It's linked in the PowerPoint as well. And then we have a second extension activity. If your debaters get through all this and they really want more affirmative stuff, which is great, we'll have more lessons on that later, but for now, they can actually match up existing taglines directly from the packet. There are 5 cards from the 1AC, plus an additional solvency argument here. We have the answer key for coaches, so you can delete that if you're gonna print this out for students. And what you would do is basically print pages 1 and 2 double-sided, hand that out to students, then print page 3 and cut these boxes out so that the students can copy and paste those into their blank boxes on the screen here. And they should also be checking off what type of argument that is: inherency, harms, plan, solvency. Alternately, another way to do this lesson is to just looking at these taglines without cutting them out. You can check off the box and use this blank space for writing reasoning instead of copying and pasting. So again, 2 different ways to use this worksheet. And just to, again, to show the same idea, same materials, debate en español, the same information is available here, just the worksheets and PowerPoints in Spanish. All right. We're going to move on to practice 5, role of the negative. So again, the federal jobs guarantee is our affirmative. We focus a lot more on the role of the affirmative and just had an extension activity with some taglines from the affirmative. The next deeper dive into the affirmative will come out in lessons 6, 7, and 8, where you're actually going to have some closer looks at the packet, and the example debate round will be included in that. But for lessons 4 and 5, they're about, again, understanding the role and structure of affirmative and negative, and then just a very brief intro to the arguments without actually looking fully into the packet just yet. I will answer one other question, which we put in the coach email, but maybe on your minds as well. It is not essential for our scrimmage on October 11th for the students to have looked at the packet or even know the arguments in the packet. We will share electronic versions of the packet online during the scrimmage. The scrimmage will also start with a 30-minute overview of the role of the affirmative and negative and the basic affirmative and negative arguments. So if your debaters have not done any of these lessons or have never opened the packet, they will still be able to be successful in the scrimmage just by attending that first 30 minutes. And they'll be walked through it by an experienced debater as well. Similarly, we'll be offering your experienced debaters gift cards for helping out at by showing the new debaters how this works. All right, last lesson here, practice 5, role of the negative. Again, we have just one handout for this, although you'll see 2 different versions, one for high school novice, one for middle school novice. For Debate en Español, there's just the one version for high school Spanish, still a novice version. And in the PowerPoint, I'm just going to run through this quickly and we'll wrap up in just a minute. We have a scavenger hunt. This is an evidence packet scavenger hunt. They can open this up and it's a fun activity to do. For example, finding government, federal presidents. This is just to get them flipping through the packet and just like familiarizing themselves with the structure just by using it for a different sort of activity. Find some random words. Even random words from the glossary are great to use for this because that gets them looking through the packet and figuring out like, oh, I don't know what this word is, but here it is. It shows up at this point. Oh, I can read the definition of this word and get to just dig in a little bit and familiarize themselves with the packet so they're a little less intimidated when they actually have to start using it to find evidence. Again, we have a slightly longer lesson plan here, close to an hour and a half. So this may be a multiple practice sort of lesson. This explains the basic role of the negative. There's 2 ways to win the debate on the negative. One is to defend the status quo, saying we just don't need the affirmative plan. It's not going to work. It's not going to solve the problem, so we don't need it. Number 2 is proving it's a bad idea. So this can be paired with a counter plan as well. You can prove that the affirmative plan might actually make the world worse, and instead your counter plan is the best way to solve the problems. So one is saying that the affirmative plan won't work. The other saying the affirmative plan is actually so bad that it's going to make things worse, and we should use this counter plan instead in both cases. These are called offensive and defensive arguments. I won't read too far into this. This is more of a strategy thing, but generally for more experienced debaters, their arguments in a debate round should be both offensive and defensive. It's hard to win a debate with only one or the other. And this is some ideas on how we can attack the other team. Again, in this debate, for case number 1, we're going to focus almost entirely on addressing the solvency. We want to attack the affirmative plan to solve the problem. We're not going to attack the idea of homelessness. We're not going to say that homelessness is not impactful or not a big issue. We're attacking that the affirmative plan is not going to solve this problem. All right. So moving up to the negative argument board. So this is the handout that is included in the folder. We'll do middle school just for this purpose. Here's the argument board. So we're focusing on solvency for the negative side here. Basically, the structure is that there is an affirmative argument on solvency. On the negative argument board, we have these 4 solvency attacks. All of these things explain why the affirmative plan would not solve the problem, and some say why it might actually make the world worse. What we are asking your debaters to do is read the claim. This is literally the tagline directly from the packet. Read the evidence. Again, these are the warrants that are bolded and underlined down below directly from the packet, and explain in their own words which of the warrants here best prove the claim. Okay. And finally, another great place after they've finished completing this worksheet, another great place to write this reasoning is on the packet itself, right below where it says the warrants. You have your tagline, you have your citation, you have your evidence, your warrants like support that tagline. The blank space below that is a great place to write information about what this evidence means and why the evidence proves that the claim is true. So copying this, writing this on their evidence packets is a great thing to do as well as an extension. This basically, the argument board helps them dig into these solvency arguments first, and then they come back and they actually can also rank which of these 4 solvency arguments they would use. What's the strongest? What's the weakest? Why do we rank evidence? Well, you only have so much time in a debate round to read your evidence. So ranking the strongest to weakest will help them pick which arguments they think are the best and pick which pieces of evidence they want to start to use in the debate round. So when they're actually the negative team in the debate, they know which pieces of evidence they like most already to make their initial argument. And then we have closing, make sure we achieved our goals and share out what worked well and talk a little bit about next practice. And that concludes the lesson on the role of the negative. I'm going to stop sharing here. Any questions about the role of the negative, role of the affirmative, lessons 3, 4, and 5 at all? All right, not seeing any here. I'm going to end the recording. Thank you all for joining us today. And hopefully you'll be able to use this, either what you learned today or the video recording of these lessons. We hope that they work well for you in practice. So again, if you have future topics that you're interested in doing a PD about, please let us know. That'd be very helpful. Thanks.